make it here today. Okay, so how to sell a short-term rental. And this is pretty simple. You think, oh, it's just another home. But at the same time, there are some aspects that are a little bit different, especially when you are on the buying side and your customers are looking at you for advice on what to buy. So today I'll go over corporate rentals versus Airbnbs, because that's really important to know the difference and to be able to explain that to your customers. Location versus property style, and price range that you want to offer to your clients and what you would suggest to your clients, because that could definitely get out of hand. So we'll touch on that real quick. Furnishing the property, how to fund the property, and then we'll go over some FAQs that have come up in the past. So corporate rental versus an Airbnb or VRBO. What is the difference? So the difference primarily is you're still using the same, you can use the same platform, or you can go outside of that platform. I know Brandy, she has some clients that use like booking.com. I pick some off of Zillow that are short length as well. But so it doesn't matter what platform that you're pulling your clients from. What makes a corporate rental is the length of occupancy, which is 1 to 3 months. It can go up to, we had one in there for 26 months at one point. They stayed in there, and it's the type that, how long it is, because they have all the furnishings still in there, all the utilities paid, and it's just they do not have a traditional lease. They're in a corporate rental. Airbnb and VRBO are more like weekend stays. They're Thursday through Monday usually. Occupancy percentage is lower. Even though the price is higher, the occupancy is lower, because they're going to be vacant between Tuesday and Thursday usually. So 3 days out of the week, they're rented for 4, and then they're unoccupied for 3. You get lucky every once in a while and you get the week stays, but still you need like 1 or 2 days in between for the cleanings and things like that. So a corporate rental is more higher occupancy, because you're getting that 100% for say 3 months. But then you have those times in between, because you may not have somebody moving in right away, and you have a month in between. And that's what makes us different, is that we do both. So say you have occupancy of a corporate rental for 4 months, and then you have a month break, and then they come back in that following month. Well, during that month break, we're able to fill in with Airbnb or VRBO, just keep it occupied. The next month, so that are blocked off, you can't rent it, but in between you can try to keep your occupancy up by doing short-term rentals in between. There's not very many companies that do that. If you're looking at, there's a few out on that do hosting, Turnkey, I think it's called. There's a bunch of short-term rental ones, but those only do short-term rental ones. So they will take a reservation for a short-term rental out 6 months. Well, now you can't rent it as a corporate rental, because that booking messes up the next long-term reservation. Our priority is on the longer stay, and then just fill in the short term. And then a lot of long-term or corporate rental or long-term leases and property management companies, they do not do Airbnb. So it's kind of a nice little area that we have, where it's a little niche that not a lot of companies do. So that's a nice way to showcase that to your customer. Also the tenant types are usually like, with the corporate rental, you have insurance claimants, you have traveling nurses, snowbirds, you have we've had professional football players that were in town for the season. We have people that are just working in the area, workers that are building on projects around the area. Those are more corporate rentals. Airbnbs they're hanging out with a wedding, they're visiting family, they just want to come see Florida for a few days. They're just wanting to be there for the weekend. So those are different types of tenancy. Then you have property damage, and that is a difference between corporate rental and Airbnb. Corporate rentals, you have more on, I'm working with the corporation. So I have the corporation's phone number. I have their all their information that I can contact them directly and work with them directly, including their company credit card. So if they damage something, and also if they damage something, they look poorly upon their business. So they have more pride on the property. However, and this is something Brandy has seen as well, some of them, especially workers in the area, if they're just working in the area, there's not a lot of damage or theft or anything like that, but there is, they're not cleaning every day. So it's more of a deep clean at the end of their stay versus just a dust off, brush off, and on to the next one. The property damage on a VRBO and Airbnb come from the people that are staying there, they're drinking, they're partying, they're having fun, breaking things, dirtying things, some of the things that you shouldn't find when you're cleaning the property, all that stuff that comes with the Airbnb and VRBO. And also noise damage. You have all your neighbors that are not happy with that situation. So you get those. That's the difference between corporate rental versus Airbnb. You're going to have that quiet tenant that's just wanting to work all day and get things done and come home, maybe sit and be able to have a full-size kitchen versus a hotel, versus Airbnb where they're partying, having fun, loud music, and your neighbors don't like it. So that's the difference between corporate rental versus short-term rentals with Airbnb and VRBO. Property location. So the property location is also huge. Whoops. Can you guys still see? Whoops. Let's see. I can go there. Okay. Okay. And can you guys hear me? You guys can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So property location and style. So in contrast, with Airbnbs, you want them near to water, pools, entertainment. And I've heard a lot of people say, corporations, we need to have pools. No, that's not the case. The property style is short-term Airbnb and VRBO. You want that entertainment section. You want pools and near the beaches and near entertainment spots, Ybor City, things like that. Corporate rentals, you're looking for highly populated areas. Even in Lakeland, where they just put in the new Amazon facility. That's a great location because people are coming and going and working. That's a great location near large corporations and medical fields. So near the hospitals, near St. Pete Hospital has been a great one. You have the traveling nurses. Downtown Tampa is great. The one that I haven't had too good of success with is in Tarpon, because there's not a lot of traveling, but you do still have the Veterans Hospital, but there's not as much. It's not as populated. Corporate rentals are usually 3 or 4 bedroom because they're trying to pack as many of their employees into one house. And, instead of putting them into 4 separate hotel rooms, they just put them into one house, and it keeps the cost down. The other thing that you're going to try to advise your clients on is parking. Make sure that they have parking available for tenants. Also, allowing them to have vehicles that have their company name on the side. That's a big thing for corporations. And also no HOA. That's a big thing. No HOA, no CDD, because what happens is you got your budget going, your ROI is going, everything's working smooth. And then come to find out they're replacing all of the roofs next year, and it's going to cost an extra $1,000 a month. Your ROI is out the door, and that causes a lot of problems. Also, HOAs, they may say, okay, yes, we do short-term rentals. And then you have one bad guest that's loud and noisy, and now all of a sudden the HOA writes in 6 months or more, or a year or more. We had that happen with a townhome. It was doing great, short-term rentals were fine, and we had one bad guest, and then they wrote it in the documents that had to be 6 months or more, and that really put a damper on it. The location just didn't work for that. Anything over 3 months that you're mandatory over 3 months, it's very hard to find that exact tenant all the time. It's so much easier if there's no restrictions, that when you get those 3 months or 4 months, that's great. But if you need to fill in those 2 or 1 or nightly, you can still keep your occupancy up. The other thing I advise your clients on is price range. before, and still, I was talking to Brandy about this. We're still finding properties at 150,000. I know we sent one out today that wasn't horrible. Does need some upgrades, would be nice. But you know, 150 is your current range. But from 150 to 350, those are perfect properties for your corporate rentals or short-term rentals. What I find is that, and I know Brandy had a owner that bought in the 750,000. I think it was really high, and it was insane because the risk of that, if you don't have it occupied and your tenant, you can't fill it during that time, you still have to pay that mortgage. That's scary because not only are you paying your mortgage, you're paying your utilities and everything else. So I like to keep it in that range. I also recommend to my clients it's kind of like, don't have all your eggs in one basket. Have a few long-term tenants just to make sure it covers all your bases, but then have your short-term rentals are more like your stocks. Those are going to bring, more risk, more profit. But those are the price range that I usually recommend. Some rehab does not need to be perfect though. When it comes to short-term rentals, people are looking at the comfort, they're looking at the furnishings that are in the property, but it doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of properties that are out there that are hard to sell right now, maybe they're boxy or, it doesn't have a big open floor plan. You can still furnish those really nicely and take beautiful pictures, and it works great as an Airbnb or a corporate rental because people are just looking at the pictures. Number one, they're not planning on living there. So a little, awkwardly property works good for them. But if you're looking to living there, it's like, I don't want to live in this, I want to take down walls and all this stuff. But if you can find those properties they're hard to sell and you can get them for a good price. So those are the things that I would recommend to my clientele. The other one is furnishing. So you want to make it comfortable and cozy. You want to make it cute and nichey. There was a few properties that we visited recently, like it had just a 1-1. It was totally so cute. Had a little loft, had a bed set upstairs. And it rents like crazy because of the way they made it look comfortable and made it look cute. So those are the most important things. If you have scratches on your walls or dings around the property, that's not as big of a problem as making sure that your property is comfortable, your furnishings are comfortable and clean and cozy. They say no small items and nothing smaller than a volleyball. So anything larger than a volleyball is what they recommend. So vases, things that really stand out, but not a lot of clutter. You don't want to do that for the Airbnbs. Where to buy? We work with we work with 3 different consignment furnishing companies. So when you have someone, you don't have to just go, I don't know how to furnish it, go furnish it yourself. We can help them with that. We like to do consignment shops because instead of buying new, there still is a few things that we buy new, like beds, things like that. But once they're used once, they're already used. So there's no use in buying brand new stuff. And I have a property right now where they spent over $20,000 on furniture, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's hard to get your ROI back down. So or back up. So it's hard to justify getting brand new stuff. The other ones that I've seen happen, and I've seen them struggle, is renting the furniture. So you could go to any rent store and rent the furniture, but then you have a bill of $500 or $1,000 a month on top of your mortgage. That's scary too. Just go to consignment shops. You can go to Goodwills and things like that. Buying off marketplace when it comes to furniture is a little scary because of our German cockroaches here in Florida. Because if you get those in there, you can't get them back out, or it takes a while. But if you go to Goodwills, things like that, where they check things like that, you can find some of the cutest stuff and some of the neatest little things that you can make it pop. And we have the people that will do it. So say you have somebody that buys a property from you or is interested in a property and they need furnishing, or if they already bought a property and need furnishing, we give you a referral fee of $300. And it's usually a furnishing of like 8 to 10,000 to furnish the properties. Funding, and I say we, it's because the people that we work with. So funding on these properties are also a little different because you can do a few different things. So one that we just had a training on was the DSCR loans. But these ones are conventional loans. You can do private lending if it doesn't pass an appraisal, and then move into DSCR loan. The DSCR loan is based off of income of the properties. If it's never been rented out as an Airbnb, that's okay because they're going to use AirDNA to get the quality. So the appraisal is going to be based off of your gross rent multiplier. And I know you guys know it from your classes, but the gross rent multiplier is how you're going to get the income. And this is the most important part. So if you have an appraiser going out there, what I always recommend is to leave them rents and really spell out on a piece of paper that this is how you would like them to appraise the property as a gross rent multiplier. I have the property in Clearwater. I always use this as an example. Bought it for 130. It appraised after fixing it at 250. It's okay. It's just a little decent home, very small, just a little house in Clearwater. But with the gross rent multiplier, because it's $3,200 we're making in the front and 12 in the back, we have the leases to prove it and Airbnb funding to prove it. And there's also AirDNA that they're using to go around to give the value. It appraised at 400,000. So you can take a property that, you buy for 150, get it going, get the rents going, and then go get the gross rent multiplier appraisal to earn 150,000 more. So there's a huge income value in doing the strategy. So flipping corporate rental or Airbnb, so buying, working on it, doing the rehab, renting it for 9 months of proof of income, and then selling, you could be in a huge value. And when you're renting it, you're taking that capital too. Then you sell it and you make almost double the value when you do that. So it's a great strategy that not a lot of people do because it's very risky. The other way is to buy it, rehab it, and use just the projected rents from AirDNA to get the funding or to sell the property. Just making sure you're telling the appraiser the gross rent multiplier. So the DSCR loans are for income properties, loans based on projected rents, and usually conventional. So that's how you can get funding. Taylor here was the one we just did the class with. That's his contact information, and you can contact him anytime and learn about and make sure you know these loans for your clients. Hosting, of course, we do the hosting here as well. So we advertise on over 20 sites, Airbnb, VRBO, traveling nurses, Furnish Finder, just a whole bunch of different sites. So if your clients are asking, do we host? Because you can come in from the very beginning, you can sell them the property, help them furnish the property, put them into hosting, and now you have access to this. And not only do you have access to that owner and that landlord, if you stay in contact with them and you have an agreement to work with them, you make up to over 5% of the hosting that they receive. So say it's $4,000 a month in rent for one property, or say like Quarry Lake, that rents for $8,000 a month. You're going to make 5% off of the landlords that you bring to investing in Florida. So, and the value that the landlord gets and what we get as well is that you stay in contact with the landlords or with the owners, and you provide them with asset management. So giving them the asset management, saying, okay, yeah, your property is doing amazing. You can refinance and buy another one. Or, hey, the property's doing not so good. How about we go ahead and sell this one and buy something else in this area, which is less saturated by short-term rentals. So by you keeping in contact with that landlord, then you're providing them with a better service. You're probably going to get the sale because you know how they are. They're buying and selling within 7 times a year instead of every 7 years. And it keeps that flow going. So that's why we like that strategy. With investing in Florida, we have 24-hour communication with the tenants, meaning, we have our backup that if they're struggling with the property at 12 in the morning, 1 in the morning, we're there to answer it. We're there to make sure that they're okay. Cleaning, we make sure the cleanings are done, and before the next tenant comes in, and any maintenance. So maintenance we handle as well. We handle the coordination of the pressure washing, the weeding, the everything that happens on the property. So a lot of short-term rental hosts, all they do is the cleaning and the communication with the tenants, but we are taking a step above and more property management. We do the maintenance. We're also working on a schedule for filter changes, things like that. So we do traditional property management with short-term rentals. Also, when you send a landlord, there's a $350 referral fee. So we want to make sure we're trying to get you guys to get some little, it's not a lot of money, but it's beer money. So if you can send that over, you get $350, and then also 5% of all the income that comes in. So frequently asked questions are average rent. So people ask, well, what is the average rent that I would get from this property? Well, with a short-term rental, a corporate rental, the way I usually look at it is that you start around 1,800 in a good area. So say you have a 1-bedroom, and 1-bedroom I say is $1,000 rent for 1-bedroom, and then you also have the kitchen. So 1,800 is what you're going to get from a 1-bedroom. Remember, you also have to pay all the utilities to it too, so it's not a huge income yet. You have the electric, you have water if you have water. Wi-Fi, usually we recommend, we have a list for landlords. Wi-Fi we usually hook up, but you don't need to have cable. Everybody usually comes and just watches Netflix and the local news. But you'll have 1,000 plus a kitchen, so 1,800 for 1-bedroom, and then just add $1,000 per another room, and coming down a little bit. So I usually say a 1-bedroom 1,800, 2-bedroom 2,800, 3-bedroom 3,500 to 3,800, 4 bedrooms 4,500. So it's coming down just a little bit, but you're still in that range. So it's usually around $1,000 is what I like to say per room until it gets bigger, because now you're pricing yourself out as you go. 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom is starting to price yourself out, unless you're in an amazing place on the beach where it's perfect for weddings and things like that, and that's a real short-term rental. Who are the tenants? I think we went over that a little bit, but traveling nurses, insurance claimants, big sports stars that are coming in town, people that are working in the area, and of course the short-term rental tenants. So those are just people that come and go. What is ROI, and what is the return on investment on these properties? What we see, and you can see this on Zillow Calculator because we've done a few in there recently, and you'll see a traditional, say you have a property and it's renting out $1,200 a month, you buy it for $2,000 and it's $1,200 a month, your ROI is pretty low. But if you're able to rent it out for the 28 to 3,000, your ROI gets a lot higher. So you're going to see that on the reports in Zillow Calculator. You'll see maybe 8% for a long-term rental, but that same rental is more like 25% to 30% for a return on investment on your short-term rental. And people say, no, I don't believe it. How are you going to get that rent? Well, it's easy to explain when you say, well, number one is that also includes your utilities, and it gives that ease of allowing somebody to stay there, just like as in a hotel, but they get a full kitchen. So that's why we can charge a little extra. The other question that you get from your owners is, am I guaranteed a tenant? No, of course not. You can't guarantee them a tenant. You can say the probability is high, but yes, you cannot guarantee them a tenant because you just never know. That's what happened in COVID. Airbnb and VRBO just completely turned off. So it was really scary during that time. We were able to pull in different routes, traveling nurses, emergency responders. We have to think outside the box, but we're never guaranteed a tenant. Will there be vacancies? Yes, there are going to be vacancies. We try to keep them down as low as possible. And that's why we try to fill in those short-term rentals if a long-term doesn't come for a few days. So that is basically all about the corporate rentals. Do you guys have any questions? I know we've gone over corporate rentals a few times, like what is a corporate rental, how to sell it, but I'm hoping this will help you know how to better sell this to your clients. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I had a question.
Okay.
As far as like paperwork or documentation, what's the process with that?
Everything's the same. So if they're buying or selling, it is the same as a traditional contract. So you're going to use the same, same for sales contract. The only thing different that you'll see in selling these is that you're going to have to, it's very similar to when you're selling like a multifamily property. You're going to have to track how much their rent roll is. So that's the one question they always ask, can I see the rent rolls when you're selling one of these, which is the rent rolls are the Airbnb income or their lease or a bank statement showing what they've received. And then the other thing is at closing, there's going to be the deposits. So who's going to get the deposit? At closing, 600 goes here and just like your test and everything you've gone through, if you close on the 15th of the month, half the rent goes to the buyer, half the rent goes to the seller. So those are going to be the tricky things, but the title does all that work anyways. You're primarily just doing the for sales contract. But that's really all that you need to do. So if say you're going in and you want to get a property for your buyer, you're going to go and say, can I see your rent rolls? If the agent says, what is that? You just explain that you just want to see what their income is, proof of income, which would be, bank statements, profit and loss, things like that. The other thing is with the lending, they may ask for profit and loss, balance sheet. So just like you're selling a business, you're going to be wanting to use that as well. With the for sales contract, you are going to write in there fully furnished, and furnishings go with the sale of the property. So that will be included in the description as well on the for sales contract.
Okay. And how about some of the ancillary, if when you're doing the hosting and things of that nature, do we just have them come direct to you through you, or is there any type of paperwork we need to do if they're wanting to do any type of the leasing of the consignment, I say, of the furnishings and the hosting itself? Do they go directly to you? Is there a process for us on our end?
Yeah, they can come directly to us, mainly for you, be trying to sell it to them like, hey, this is what we have to offer. But once they are ready, you can send them right to us so we can negotiate the hosting fee. We can explain more of the cost and what we're doing with the furnishings. So you can send them right to us. Yeah, so you don't have to, there are some flyers that we have on the hosting, just so you can use that as a way to get new clients. I'll post that in our WhatsApp group right after this. And then also, anything with the furnishings, you can just send them right to us. We do have some in-house, with Virginia does part of the furnishings, but we also have 2 other furnishing companies that do this as well.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Is there any more questions? Oops, went off there. Well, cool. So just wanted to go over this kind of quickly, but also hoping that this helps you guys understand how to sell a corporate rental to your clients. Because it is one of the most where we're kind of pushing, especially right now. As you guys know, the Airbnbs are kind of saturated in this area. It's hard for them to break out. And so there's a lot of short-term rental companies or short-term rental homes looking to sell. So that is probably one of the low-hanging fruit listings that you can find right now. Going to Airbnb or going to Zillow and finding properties that are on there for short-term rental, you'll be able to contact them and just let them know, hey, if you're interested in selling, we specialize in this. We host and we sell, so we know how to sell the property. But that is some low-hanging fruit for you guys to sell these properties. If you have any more questions on how to sell the corporate rentals, just text me anytime. And hopefully we can get them. I know right now we have three Airbnbs. One Brandy has listed in Orlando, close to Orlando, has the lazy river. It's pretty cool. But the reason why he's selling is because it's an Airbnb community, and there has to be, I would say, 70 other properties that look like townhomes in there that are all Airbnbs. So how do you stand out? And it's tough. And we are able to still rent it, but it's just not a long-term strategy. So he is selling that property to buy something more lucrative. We also have another one that just went on the market. That's Lizette's family, and that's right here in Carrollwood. It's a 550, and it's a 3-bedroom Airbnb that's very profitable. And then I have the Clearwater property that is for almost $5,000 a month that is going as well. So we have 3 of them. So you can tell things are kind of moving in that direction. So there is some low-hanging fruit that you can definitely grab onto. But if you have any questions, just let me know. And hopefully this helps you move forward with your clients and know what questions they're going to ask and how to answer them for them. But if you have any questions, just WhatsApp me and then I can answer them back as quick as possible. Alrighty, if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and end this. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube so you guys can go back and if you have any questions on what we did, and you can review how to sell. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you for jumping in on this, and hopefully you got some value out of it.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, talk to you soon. There it is. Alrighty, have a good night, guys.